Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Madisonville Marine. Folks, they always have a great selection. And when I talk about selection, yes, supply chains are brutal right now. The boat industry, they're still trying to crank up boats and get back to where they are. But when you carry as many different makes and models of boats as Madisonville Marine, well, that's still the place to go for the best selection, even if you're having to order a boat. And right now, if you want to get ahead of everybody else, if you want a boat for next spring, next summer, you got to get to Madisonville Marine. You got to put the order in now. And they've got, G3, Suncatcher, Aqua Patio, Hurricane deck boats, Skeeter. I could go on all day. That's what they carry. That's why they're incredible. Get down there and see them, Madisonville Marine, or check them out online, madmarine.com. Okay. Take a look here at the scores from Tennessee's foes this year. These are all the ones that were in action yesterday. Pitt whips David Cutcliffe and Duke. Tennessee Tech falls to Murray State. Florida had a bunch of guys with the flu this week, but still they are going south quickly with South Carolina beating them. Georgia whips Missouri. Ole Miss beats former coach Hugh Freeze. Alabama, a tough game with LSU. South Alabama, who Tennessee will face in a couple of weeks, lost to Troy. Guys, the number one team in the country. Well, first of all, thoughts on Dan Mullen. That's the big takeaway from yesterday, I guess. Here's a guy that went to a 4-win program, won 10 games each of his first 3 years, having a bad year this year, and there are people saying, that's it. You've had your bad year. We need to fire you.
Momentum nowadays gets you, doesn't it?
It's amazing. It's like the last 3 10-win seasons didn't happen at all.
I would not be surprised if Florida said, you're not recruiting well enough.
Yeah. He's done himself no favors off the field. He's a show cause, which is negatively affecting recruiting. Right. And the press conference stuff this past week was pretty embarrassing.
And he's always, even when he was at Mississippi State, the biggest issue I always had with him, I think he's a really good coach, bit of a jerk. I mean, he's kind of a jerk and comes across as a jerk, and that's not helping him now.
And you get away with that when you're winning.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
10-win season.
And real quick, the flip side of that, Shane Beamer. Who thought Shane Beamer would beat Florida before a Tennessee coach? I certainly didn't, And that was so cool to see him hug Frank, his dad, at the end. It was really special watching some of that.
It was. I was happy to see it.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say I was happy to see it. I got recruited by Shane Beamer when he was at South Carolina as an assistant coach. Incredible guy. So it was good to see him to get that.
All right. Number one team in the country will be in Knoxville next Saturday at 3:30. I still wonder if Tennessee's going to have any more night games this year. I wonder if that's going to be a silent part of the SEC's punishment for the bottle tossing, that you'll be playing at noon against South Alabama and Vanderbilt. We'll see. But you got a 3:30 game. Everybody's going to be watching. The Vols are just 2-15 versus number one teams in the AP and coaches poll all time. Those 2 wins, 1959. Tennessee upsets LSU 14-13. Charlie Severance, who I know watches the show.
Yep.
Thank you. He was part of that defensive stop on Billy Cannon. Unranked Tennessee won 38-20 over number one Auburn in 1985, the Bo Jackson game. That was the last time, 36 years since Tennessee beat a number one team. Ronald Reagan was president. Money for Nothing by Dire Straits was the number one song. The number one movie was Back to the Future. Is that an omen? Are the Vols going to go back to the future and upset the number one team this week? Daniel, if I'm you, I'm putting all my money on the Vols. If I'm you this week.
I'm taking the money line this week.
All right, here's my question, though. As for the Georgia team they will face this week, the Bulldogs defense has allowed 3, 7, 13, 0, 0, 10, 13, 7, and 6 points. It was a couple of years ago, Nick Saban said, well, you don't win with defense anymore. The exception to the rule, Georgia.
Yep.
My question, very quickly, does Tennessee become the first team to put 14 points on Georgia's defense?
I think they will. I think that, and I like what Tennessee did in fooling Alabama a couple of times, and so I think they can get to 16 or 17. And if they do, then I think you should embark on a campaign for Hendon Hooker for Heisman.
There you go. Josh, you think they can get 14 on them?
I do. I think Tennessee will get there. I don't think it'll be easy as maybe fans think coming out of last night's game.
Yeah, and even the third team wasn't that Kentucky, and then they call a timeout just a few seconds before the end of the game to get that. So I think, yes, they do get there.
I think they're going to get there, and I think they get it in the first quarter. I think
but we've got that game.
I don't know if they're going to score in the second or fourth quarter, but first and third, I think they get points.
There you go.
This game, do we think there's I mean, look, one, you got to know, we got to figure out what's up with Tyon Evans, Jabari Small. I mean, you've got two lead backs, and neither one of them can stay healthy. That's not a help for this team. Puts Jalen Wright in the spotlight next week against Georgia if even one of those guys can't go. But still, do we think there's we're going to do your line next, and we're going to pick that, but chance of an actual all-time upset here?
I don't like it because I don't think Tennessee's good enough at the line of scrimmage. Georgia's just so good up front,
Yep.
in particular on the defensive line. I don't see it.
Deep. Man, they're deep, too.
Yeah, that's the scariest thing is Tennessee's still trying to figure out some things on the offensive line, and Georgia is great up front and has a wrecking ball in Jordan Davis.
Well, if Kentucky got 5 sacks on you last night, what's Georgia going to do?
Yeah.
Any chance?
Oh,
Chuck?
always a chance.
Okay. We'll let you show us next what you think about that chance. Daniel?
I'm going with a small chance. I mean, obviously it's going to be small if you're that big of an underdog, but Tennessee 5-0 this year when the opposing team's offense is ranked behind Tennessee in total offense. So the only team, and Tennessee on the flip side is 0-4 when the offense is ranked higher than them. Georgia's 53 this year. Tennessee's right around the 23 mark. So they're going to have to score points to do it.
Well, they'll get 14 in the first quarter from what
That's
I hear.
right.
All right, when we come back, let's take a look. Big shifts on the standings board this week because some people went all in last week. So we will have the updated standings, and I think these last 3 weeks are going to be interesting because I think people are going to be throwing money like crazy. So come on back on the Sports Source. We'll see what Chuck says for the line and for the winner and for the over-under Tennessee, Georgia. Next.